What if you had to make a choice between saving a life and following the law? Matthew is about to find out. He stands in a dimly lit alley, looking around cautiously, checking if anyone is watching. He takes a deep breath, then walks towards a nondescript door, knocks 3 times, and waits. The door creaks open, and a figure beckons him inside. Matthew steps into the doorway, his eyes adjusting to the darkness within. Matthew looks around, taking in his surroundings, a makeshift operating room filled with medical equipment. A figure in a mask gestures for him to sit down, and Matthew complies, his eyes fixed on the figure. The figure begins to scrub in, preparing for surgery, and Matthew watches intently, his mind racing with questions. He points to his own chest, asking what's going to happen, and the figure responds with a series of hand gestures. Matthew nods, seeming to understand, and the figure begins to explain the procedure. Matthew listens intently, his eyes locked on the figure, as it describes the risks and benefits of the operation. He nods along, asking occasional questions, and the figure responds with nods and gestures. The figure hands Matthew a gown, and he stands up, beginning to change, his movements slow and deliberate. He looks around the room, taking in the equipment, the figure in the mask, and the overall atmosphere of the space. Matthew points to a nearby monitor, asking about the patient's vital signs, and the figure responds with a series of numbers and gestures. The figure in the mask hands Matthew a scalpel, and he takes it, feeling the weight of the instrument in his hand. He looks at the figure, then at the patient, and begins to make the first incision. Matthew's hands move slowly and carefully, his eyes fixed on the patient's body, as he works to repair the damage. The figure in the mask assists, handing him instruments and providing guidance, and Matthew responds, his movements becoming more confident. He reacts to the figure's instructions, making adjustments and corrections, his focus solely on the task at hand. Matthew works tirelessly, his hands moving quickly and precisely, as he navigates the complexities of the operation. The figure in the mask watches over him, providing guidance and support, and Matthew responds, his confidence growing with each passing moment. He points to a nearby tray, asking for a specific instrument, and the figure hands it to him, their movements a well-choreographed dance. Matthew takes a deep breath, focusing on the task at hand, as he works to save the patient's life. The operation is a delicate balancing act, with Matthew and the figure in the mask working together in perfect harmony. The figure assists, providing guidance and support, and Matthew responds, his movements becoming more confident and assured. Matthew celebrates a small victory, a slight smile crossing his face, as he successfully completes a difficult portion of the operation. The figure in the mask nods in approval, and Matthew continues, his hands moving quickly and precisely, as he navigates the complexities of the operation. Matthew nods, seeming to understand, and continues, his focus solely on the task at hand. The operation is a high-stakes game, with Matthew and the figure in the mask working together to save the patient's life. Matthew's hands move swiftly and surely, his eyes locked on the patient's body, as he works to complete the operation. The operation is a marathon, not a sprint, with Matthew and the figure in the mask working together for hours, their movements a well-choreographed dance. He points to a nearby tray, asking for a specific instrument, and the figure hands it to him, their movements a testament to their training and expertise. Matthew works tirelessly, his hands moving swiftly and surely, as he works to complete the operation. The operation is a long and difficult journey, but Matthew and the figure in the mask are determined to succeed. The operation is finally coming to an end, and Matthew is exhausted but relieved. He steps back, looking at the patient's body, and the figure in the mask nods in approval. Matthew smiles, a sense of pride and accomplishment washing over him, as he realizes he has saved a life. The figure in the mask hands him a mask, and Matthew puts it on, his eyes locked on the patient's body, as he watches the patient's vital signs begin to stabilize. Matthew looks at the figure in the mask, and they nod at each other, a sense of mutual respect and understanding passing between them. Matthew turns to leave, his movements slow and deliberate, as he makes his way back to the door. He opens it, and a sliver of light illuminates the dark room, as he steps out into the bright sunlight. Matthew takes a deep breath, feeling the cool air fill his lungs, as he looks around, taking in the sights and sounds of the city. Matthew walks away from the building, his movements slow and deliberate, as he disappears into the crowd. He looks back, a sense of nostalgia washing over him, as he remembers the operation and the life he saved. Matthew smiles, a sense of pride and accomplishment still present, as he continues on his way, his heart filled with a sense of purpose and meaning. He knows that he has made a difference, and that he will always be haunted by the memories of the operation. But Matthew also knows that he has learned something valuable, something that will stay with him for the rest of his life. He has learned that the true value of a life is not measured by its legality, but by its worth, and that sometimes, the hardest choices are the ones that lead to the greatest rewards. Matthew looks up, a sense of determination in his eyes, as he knows that he will always stand by his principles, no matter the cost. If you want to hear more stories like this, be sure to like, subscribe, and comment below. We'll be bringing you more true crime and mystery stories, each one more shocking and thought-provoking than the last. So, don't forget to hit that notification bell and join our community of true crime enthusiasts. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.